Hi everyone, my name is Reenu Singh and I am from the Department of Geography. So today we are going to talk about the earth movements. That is our today's topic. So just in a brief, let me discuss about what is the earth movement. Movement is basically when we are moving from one place to another place or when we are displacing from one place to another place. Now what is it, this movement in context to earth? Right? So basically earth movement is a topic of physical geography. Now you will ask you, what is ma'am physical geography? So just let me know you the introduction of geography. Basically here it is a term that is geography, right? Geography is term which is derived from two different words. First one is geo, that means earth, right? And graphy, that is derived from graphos, that means explanation. So combinedly what we are saying that geography means that explanation of earth, right? Is it clear to everyone? Okay, fine. So geography can be classified into two parts. First one is the physical geography and second one is human geography. What does it mean, physical geography? Physical geography, that means we are explaining our earth in reference to the physical context. For example, we are living here, we are standing here, but with the help of air like atmosphere which is surrounding us, by winds, by oxygen, or we are standing on the earth's surface, or by geography. So basically physical geography consists of land area, water body and atmosphere, and combinedly these three terms makes bio geography, right? So this is the part of physical geography, and in this part physical geography we have many concepts regarding to the earth, like origin of earth, how it was originated, how the movements of earth occurs in day-to-day our life, how plates are moving, how earth is revolving, how earth is rotating, what are the resultants of these rotations and movement and revolutions. So next is human geography. What does it mean? If we are studying the earth's surface or we are studying the whole explanation of earth by making human as a center or human centric approach, then it will be known as human geography. For example, we are studying settlement geography, we are studying urban geography, we are studying anthropology, we are studying many type of geographies, but the core part is human. So if the human is centralized in studies, then that will be known as human geography. Now come to the main point. The main point is physical geography and our topic is earth movements. So shall we carry on? Okay. Here we have okay. So basically earth movement, that means it refers to the differential movement of earth's crust, subsidence of the land, faulting and folding. Earth is moving from west to the east direction, and because of this movement there are many processes, there are many resultant landforms are formed on the earth's surface, right? As we are this in the picture, that earth is rotating from west to the east direction and it is the equatorial part, and when it is rotating from the west to east direction there are many kind of results which are coming from this, right? Now what are the types of earth movement we are discussing in this chapter? Sometimes the forces are occurred from inside the earth. If the forces are occurred inside the earth, then it will be known as endogenic forces, right? Endogenic forces, endogenic, endo that means internal, genetic that means genesis, it comes from the genesis, that means the formation. It means that those kind of forces which are generated from the inside of the earth are known as endogenic forces, and sometimes the forces are works externally from the earth. These are known as exogenic. Exo that means external, and genetic that comes from the genesis, that means formation, right? So now we have further classification of earth movements in endogenic forces, that is totally based on the time period. It means that some kind of forces which occur suddenly on the earth's surface, and sometimes the forces are moving along with a long period, right? So if the forces are working with the slow movement, then they are known as diastrophism, right? What does it mean? They are the slow movement, diastrophism. And if some movement occurs suddenly, then they are known as sudden movements. For example, earthquake. If you are seeing, if you are observing, then earthquake can occur in the few of seconds, and that is the power which can destroy the many health and wealth in few of seconds. Similarly, volcanic activities are also those kind of forces which occurs in few of seconds, right? The concept behind the earthquake and volcanoes will be discussed in our other chapter, right? But these forces are the type of sudden movements. Now coming towards the next part of it, that is diastrophism. It means that the slow movement, right? Now these slow movement can be occurs horizontally, can be occurs vertically. What are they? Epeirogenic or continent forming. Epeirogenic, it means that the movement will be vertical, slow movement, and the slow movement will be in the form of vertical, right? So vertically, it may be upwards, it may be downwards, right? And because of these movements, continents on the earth's surface were formed. Next type of it is orogenic or mountain building. If the movement or if the force is moving horizontally, it means that it may be opposite to each other, it may be towards each other. Both are horizontal movements, and if the movements are slow plus they are horizontal, then they have different kind of movements. Their names are different. For example, if they are moving apart from each other, it will be known as the tensional force. If the movement occurs towards each other, then it will be known as compression. I have a picture on that. For example, endogenic and exogenic processes. What are the part of endogenic? As we have discussed, they are creating inside the earth, right? They have igneous activity. Why it is so? Because when the movement occurs from the inside of the earth, then the material which comes from the inside of the earth is igneous. It is the ferrous content, it is the nickel content, so it will be known as the igneous activity. And because of that, orogenesis, sometimes because of the internal material, mountains are formed, and because mountains are formed, that's why they are known as orogenesis. Oro, it means that mountain, right? Epeirogenic, that means the vertical movement, and because of that vertical movement, some kind of results are also can be occurred on the earth's surface, right? Exogenic, they are work occurs externally on the earth's surface. For example, water is doing its work on the earth's surface. For example, there is a river, right? When the river originates from a higher place or a higher altitude, it erodes this region, and it erodes vertically because the velocity of the water is high, because the erosive capacity is high. But when it moving along with the path and moving towards the slowed regions, then it will expand itself, right? Then the vertical extension, vertical erosion will be converted into the horizontal erosion, right? So rivers are playing their role, but they are on the earth's surface. That's why this force is known as exogenic. Similarly, when ice is also doing its work, wind is also doing that. there is a high velocity of wind, then it takes the wind, it takes the sand carry the sand and it is displacing from one place to the another place. That will be the power of wind, but it occurs on the earth surface, on surface. That's why it is known as exogenic or external force, right? And these are occurring inside the earth. Sudden forces, as we discussed in the previous slide, what are the examples of sudden forces? I discussed over the earthquake, right? And because of earthquake, many kind of rifts, cracks, fractures are occurred on the earth surface. Volcanic eruption, it occurs in the few of seconds and it is highly drastic if that volcanic activity occurs in the residential area. But if we are talking about the slow movements, or we can say that diastrophic movements, so diastrophic forces are slow forces, as we had discussed in the previous slide, right? Slow forces, they can be vertical, upwards, downwards. Orogenic, that means they are moving apart from each other or they are moving towards each other. If the movement occurs vertically upward, then it will be known as emergence, and if the work moving towards downwards, then it will be known submergence. Now I have a question, that what is the difference between emergence and upliftment? Can anybody answer it? What is the basic difference between emergence and upliftment? These are the very common terms which we are using at place of anyone, but there is a minute difference. If the upliftment, if the movement, upward movement occurs on the earth's surface or on the land part, then it will be known as upliftment. But if the upward movement occurs on the water body level, then it will be known as emergence. For example, the emergence of islands, we are not saying the upliftment of islands, right? So is it clear what is the difference between upliftment and emergence? Similarly, there is a bit difference between the submergence and downwards. If the word downwards comes, it means that that process, that movement occurs on the land body part. But if the downward movement occurs on the sea level, on the oceanic part, then it will be known as submergence. Did you hear the word submarine? Why it is so? Submarine. It has come from submergence word, right? Now, next part. If the movement occurs towards or opposite to each other, then what will happen? I have a better example of it. This way. If the movement, if the force is moving apart from each other, now why it is so happening? It means that plates which occurs on the earth's surface or under the earth's surface, suppose this is the crustal part and this is the interior part of the earth, and these are plates. If these plates are moving apart from each other, then a tension will be created. Moving apart from each other, then there must be tension, right? And because of this tension, this stress, sometimes cracks occurs on the earth's surface. Cracks. If the force continues, then it will be in the form of fracture. Further it will continues, cracks, fracture, valleys, gorges and canyons. These terms are very much similar and we are using any term at any place, but there is a bit difference on the basis of their depth. In cracks, the tensional force is less, but if we are talking about the canyons and gorges, it means that the tensional force was very strong, and because of that the canyons were formed, right? Is it okay? What happened with the other force? That is compression force. If the forces, if the movement is occurs towards each other, then what will happen? Then the force will be known as compression, and because of that some kind of mountains are formed. Here is the best example or the live example we have, that this is the Eurasian plate, right? This is the Eurasian plate and this is the Indian subcontinent plate, right? Both plates are moving towards each other with different speeds. Now, what happened in that region? Indian plate, Eurasian plate, they are moving towards each other, right? If the force is continuously, the horizontal compression force is continuously, then what will happen? It rises upwards. And because this activity happens on the earth or the land surface, then it will be known as the upliftment, not the emergence. It will be known as the upliftment. So, upliftment of what? This part. And if you can see it, this is the Himalayan region. This part. So, why Himalayan region were formed? Because of the horizontal compressive force. Horizontal compressive force is the major reason behind the origin of Himalayas. So, horizontal compression force. Is it clear to everyone that what is the tensional force and what is the compression force? Okay, fine. Next is, what are the type of denudations? As we have discussed in the previous slides, there are some kind of movement, earth movements, which are endogenetic, exogenic. Endogenetic movements are those kind of movements which are occurs inside from the earth. Exogenic forces are those kind of forces which generates outside the earth. Endogenetic में हमने बात करी है regarding to the epirogenetic forces and orogenetic forces, and in exogenic forces right now we have two types of it: weathering, erosion. Right now, here we have denudation. This is the term is very much popular in the competitive exams that define or elaborate or illustrate the denudation term. What does it mean? Denudation, it means that it is consisting of three different activities: weathering, mass movement and erosion. What does it mean, erosion? Erosion matlab, it means that if by some kind of agents may be a river, it may be oceanic wave, it may be wind, it may be ice. If the disintegrated part of any rock is moving from one place to the another place via some agents, then it will be known as erosion. What happened if the debris material or the eroded material or the disintegrated materials will not displace from one place to another place? What will happen? Then that activity, that process will be known as weathering, right? I am just giving a picture. These are the some mountains, right? It is the eroded or disintegrated material from the higher altitude towards the lower altitudes, right? If the disintegrated material settle down in the foothill zones of mountains, then it will be known as weathering, right? But if this material, this disintegrated part is displaced from this region to some other regions, then it will be known as erosion. For example, this is the map of India. I hope looks good. Okay, so there is a mountain range, you can name it Gangotri, right? From Gangotri, Ganga originates, right? It comes from this and it drains its water into the Bay of Bengal, right? If the debris material, some material is collected into the foothill zone, right? If the material is collected in the foothill zone of mountains or Gangotri, then it will be known as the weathering process, right? But via rivers, by the flowing rivers, As we have discussed, with the help of rivers, with the help of water, if this disintegrated material displaced from this region to this region, right, then this process will be known as erosion. Is it clear what is the difference between weathering and erosion? Okay. Now, the third is mass movement. Apart from it, before we discussing the mass movement, we are having some terms. Weathering, the types of weathering is chemical, mechanical and biological weathering. Chemical weathering, why the weathering is happening? For example, if I am taking about the example of chemical weathering, so it is very popular observation during the month of monsoon, during the monsoon season. What happens? There are iron rods in our every houses, right? Because of the moisture content, moisture, it means that we are talking about the H2O. H2O mixed with Fe, we have irons, and in the moisture, presence of moisture, it reacts with the H2O and it forms FeO2, ferrous oxides, and it is known as corrosion, right? The corrosion is the example of chemical weathering, and with the march of time the iron content will be degraded, right? So that process will be known as weathering, right? Similarly, biological weathering and mechanical weathering are here, but we will discuss the types of weathering in our next chapter. We are having the next term is mass movement. Mass movement. What does it mean? Mass movement. It means that when the disintegrated material or the debris material is flowing downwards with the help of gravitational force of earth, then it will be known as mass movement. This is the mountainous region. Because it is at the higher altitude, it comes downwards, disintegrated material with the help of several agents. But when the debris material moving towards down due to gravity, then it will be known as the mass movement. It can be in the form of landslide, rockfall, slumps, creek, debris flow. Landslide, rockfalls are very popular terms. What does it mean, the slumps? It means that some kind of round shaped mountain blocks are moving downwards by force of friction, or you can say that when they are moving along with the other blocks of mountain, then they are coming down due to the gravity. It will be known as slumps. Creep, it means that the movement of or the process of downward movement is very slow, that will be the creep, and debris flow. These are the examples of mass movement. So is it clear what is the difference between erosion, weathering and mass movement? Right. Now, these are the pictures. Weathering, it means a disintegrated material collected in the foothill zone. But if they are displacing, so oceanic waves are continuously structuring the part of it, and they disintegrated the material and again they are flowing towards it. So they are displacing now. So displacing is erosion. Next is mass movement. Because of the gravitational force, disintegrated material moving towards the down. Right now, because of endogenetic forces and exogenetic forces, there are several kind of results which are seen by our naked eyes on the Earth's surface. Here we are taking the resultant landforms of endogenetic movement. It means that because of the endogenetic forces, because of the endogenetic movements, what type of the structures, what type of the landforms which are created on the Earth's surface. There are basically two type of landforms, folds and faults. Folds, it is simply when the plates are moving towards each other, then it will be crumpled down, then it will be known as fold. But if the force is moving apart from each other, then there will be a tension, and so that we can say that because of the tensional force, faults are formed. You can understand by this part, right? This one. So if the force is moving apart from each other, then there will be a bit stress. But if the force is very high, then what will happen? It makes a crack or it makes a fracture. Right? So are you able to understand? And when the depth is continuous, there are different types like cracks, fractures, valleys, gorges, canyons, right? So this is the faulting process. Faulting process. Now what kind of landforms which are occurred on the earth's surface? There are many types of it. We will discuss it later. And in the faults, it means that if we are moving towards each other, then the central part will be crumpled down like this way. And faults are this. Faults can be occurred on a axial plane, a plane along with that both limbs are bent downs. We have different type of faults, right? For example, symmetric fault, asymmetric fault, monoclinical fault, isoclinic, recurvement, overthrust, nape, open, close, anticlinarum and synclinarum. So we are taking one by one. Symmetrical faults, if the limbs are in the uniform form, then they are known as symmetrical faults. But this is the axial plane along with the both limbs. These are known as limbs, right? Along with the axial plane, they are bending. If both limbs are symmetrical, they are equal to each other, then these kind of folds will be known as symmetrical folds. What happened? Why it is happening? Because the force is in this way. What is it? Force from the both side is uniform or equally applicable on the central part of it. Because of that, folds are symmetrical. Is it okay? But sometimes on the inside the earth, both forces are not similar. Then what will happen? Unequal limbs are largely extended. For example, here by this picture you can understand if the force is coming from this direction, right? Force is it? Horizontal compressive force occurs from the both direction, but the force is unequal, then the limbs will be unequal, right? For example, this limb is larger than this limb, this limb is larger than this, and this one is larger than this. So both limbs are unequal, na? Why it is so? Because of the difference in the horizontal compressive force. So these type of folds are known as asymmetrical folds. Is it okay? Next, what will happen? Monoclinical. Mono, that means one. Clinical, that means bent. If the limb is generally inclined, whereas the other is bent along with the 90 degree. For example, force is coming from the towards each other, then what will happen? Suppose this force is very slow, force is very calm, or it is stagnant. There is no force on the left side, but this force is highly in high velocity. So what will happen? It will like this, right? This force is very high and this force is stagnant. Then it will be like, you can see the 90 degree of hills or the ranges are occurred on earth's surface. We can say that if one limb is 90 degree and other is on a perpendicular base, then this kind of fold will be known as monoclinical fold. Second is isoclinical. If the force is continuously and equally as well, then both limbs are parallel. For example, this one, this one. So both are parallel to each other now. It means that force is equal, but they are not parallel to the horizontal axis. अर्थ सरफेस के साथ में कोई भी पैरेलल एंगल नहीं बन रहा है. What does it mean? That if the limbs are parallel to each other but not to the horizontal axis, then these kind of folds will be known as isoclinic. But sometimes the force is applicable in that manner that both limbs are parallel and as well as they are parallel to the horizontal axis too. Then these type of folds will be known as recoupment fold. For example, this, right? One, this way. So both are parallel as well as they are parallel to the horizontal axis too. Then this kind of folds are known as recoupment folds. I completely accepted this part that you see these kind of pictures when you are visiting some kind of tourist places, but after today's lecture you will observe, yes, this type of folds are formed because of what reason? That there was a force unequal, equal, more or less. Now next is over thrusting fold. Why it is so happen? Force is moving towards each other, right? When the force is moving towards each other but the horizontal force is highly and with higher greater velocity, greater speed, then what will happen? Suppose this part is this and it is moving towards this direction, then it will be like this way. One limb is over thrusting to the other limb, right? They are moving towards each other, they are structuring, they are creating and they are over thrusting it, right? And sometimes this force is continuous. Because of that continuous activity, sometimes this part is broken down and some limb part is displaced from its place. So here one limb is over thrusted upon the other limb. This is the part is over thrust, but sometimes due to the excessive horizontal compressive force, they are break and displaced at some another place. This displaced rock part is known as nape. This is the very popular term in the competitive exams, in the UPSC terms, in the RPSC exams, but it means they are frequently asked what is nape. Nape are the broken limbs of any mountain or due to horizontal compressive force. Is it okay? What is nape? Due to excessive horizontal compressive force, broken limbs are known as nape. And there are many examples of nape are found in the greater Himalayan region, as we have seen in this picture. If the angle between two limbs are greater than 90 degree, right? This is the axial plane and the angle between this is greater than 90 degree, then it will be known as open fold. What happened? It means that the force is very lean or the force is very less. Because of that, it is a open fold. Sometimes force is highly or they are very fast. Then the angle between two limbs, then angle between the two limbs is lesser than 90 degree. Angle between the two limbs is less than 90 degree and it will be known as closed fold. If these folds are in a very continuous series, right, and most of the part is anticlines. What does it mean, anticlines? See, this is the fold, right? It is crust, it is trough, right? The concave structured or the trough part is known as synclines in geography, right? And the crest part or the upward curve is known as crest or anticlines, right? So there are many series of anticlines, then it will be known as anticlinorum fold. For example, like this. The observation is saying it is a anticline, right? But there are many series of anticlines and synclines, and combinedly it is a form of anticline. Because of this structure, it is known as anticlinarum fold. Similarly, it happens like this. These structures look like a syncline, but there are again many series of anticlines and synclines in a single series. So combinedly it is known as synclinarum fold. Is it clear to everyone there what type of folds we have? Right? Now we are having the types of fault. We have discussed the fold. Fold, that means horizontal compressive force, and on the basis of the intensity of force, there are many type of folds which are formed on the earth's surface. There are many type of mountain ranges we are naturally seen in our visitings. They are known as folds. Now what is fault? Fault is basically forms due to the tensional force, right? Because of the tensional force. Normal fault, reverse fault, ridge fault, trough, step and overthrust fault. We are taking one by one it. Normal fault, it means that when simply the plates are moving apart from each other, then there will be a crack or fracture, and along with a plane, like movement is in this direction, and along with this axis, the blocks or the earth surfaces are displaced. They are displaced, and this type of fault will be known as normal fault, usually 45-degree and vertical, right? So this is the normal fault. It is an absolutely normal condition, but sometimes there are a reverse fault also. Reverse fault, that means the movement or the force is towards each other. As we have discussed in our previous part, because of horizontal compressive force, faults are formed, but there are some exceptions. Sometimes because of the excessive horizontal compressive force, faults are also formed. Excessive horizontal compression force, and along with this plane they are displaced. So there will be a fault created because of the uneven part. So because of this, it is known as reverse fault, because the reason behind reverse fault is horizontal compressive force, because generally the forces is faulting. Faulting process is apart from each other, but sometimes faults are formed due to the moving towards each other. Next is overthrust fault. If the movement is very strong towards each other, along with axis it is bent, fault line is created, and along with that fault line they are overthrusting, and because of this part, because of the fault formation, this is known as the overthrust fault, displacement of blocks horizontally along with the plane. Next we have step fault. For example, this is the region. Due to horizontal tensional force, fault lines are created, more than one, right? Now, with the march of time, along with this part, this block is displaced. This place is moving downwards, right? Then displaced again. Again this process occurs with the other fault, another and another, and because of this part we are observing this kind of structures. These are the fault lines. Along with that, blocks are displaced and moving downwards or upwards, right? And step type of structure is formed on the earth surface. This type of structure is very common in the hilly regions, and these hilly regions are very popular for the tea plantation, coffee plantation, rice agriculture, right? Displacement in the opposite directions, and more than one cracks fractures developed on a block. Along with that, steps are formed, and because steps are formed, it is also known as step fault. Next is trough fault. Tensional forces moving apart from each other, and this region is facing less force. Because of that, these two blocks are moving apart from each other, and central part is subsidized or submerged. Then a trough type of structure is formed, and this type of trough structure is trough fault, and mostly rivers captured this trough and they are flowing into along with that trough. Is it okay? Next is ridge fault. What happened? It is mostly occurs on the inside the under the oceanic surface. For example, like this is the water body. Movement occurs apart from each other. Because of this, it is a core part, and because of this, crack is formed. Sometimes the intensity of force is very high, and the inside material, Fe content or nickel ferrous content, is moving upwards. And it comes out of it in the form of liquid. It is known as lava. You populate the term because you can easily say that volcanic eruption occurs under the oceanic surface. If the material is having high viscosity or the lower viscosity, structures are formed accordingly. If the viscosity is very high, it means the thickness is very high. So because of its thickness, it will be sedimented like this, right? So as you can see in this picture, it is in the form of a mountain, it is in the form of a ridge, but oceanic surface is here. This is the sea level. It is under the sea level. Because of this, it is known as ridge, right? Sometimes it comes out of the sea level, and we are seeing that some kind of landform, some kind of landmass is emerging from the sea level. Then it will be known as island. Is it clear? What is ridge and what is island? And if the whole process occurs on a land part, then it will be known as mountain, right? So ridge structure is like this because of the endogenic tensional force. Next is, there are some kind of questions which are popularly occurs in the exams, like a rift valley is formed by faulting process. There are some kind of questions, options आपके पास होते हैं, faulting, folding, wind and water. Rift valley, it means that the tensional force occurs and cracks are formed. If the force is continuous, then the fracture or crack will be converted into the valley. Next question is the fault which is formed due to shifting of lateral towards each other after origin and fracture in rocks. It means that the question is asking about the exception, that is reverse fault, because reverse fault formed due to the horizontal compressive force, not because of the tensional force. Some theoretical questions are very frequent. For example, write a short note on earth movement, write a short note on endogenic movement, or the earth, what are the earth movements, discuss the various type of topographical features which is results of the folding and faulting, right? Is it okay to everyone? Now we have a quick revision of it. We have discussed about the type of folds, which is the force because of the horizontal compressive force. Symmetrical, both limbs are equal. Asymmetrical, it means that both limbs are not equal. Monoclinical, that means these are parallel to each other but not horizontally. Monoclinical, that means they are like this. They are making an angle of 90 degree. Isoclinical, that means both limbs are parallel to each other. Recumbent, both limbs are parallel to each other as well as they are parallel to the horizontal axis too. Overthrusting fold, it means that they are moving like this because of the excessive horizontal compressive force, because it is the nape is the result of overthrusting, right? Open fold, if the angle between two limbs are greater than 90 degree. Close fold, that means the angle between two limbs is less than 90 degree. If there is a series of anticlines or synclinal folds in a form of greater anticline, then it will be known as anticlinarum, and if the series of anticlines and synclinarum is whole in the series of syncline, then it will be known as synclinarum fold. Is it okay? Type of folds. Normal fault, it means that it is because of the normal process. Plates are moving apart from each other, cracks are formed. Reverse fault, it is the exceptional part because the force is horizontal compressive force. Ridge fault is again the horizontal tensional force. Plates are moving apart from each other, then the central part is facing less part, and because of it these blocks are like this. You can understand by this part. Blocks are moving apart from each other and this part is subsistent. If this part is subsistent, then this will be known as blocks and they will be formed as mountains. So they will be known as ridge, but this is known as trough fault. Step fault, if the several cracks are formed and along with that they are displaced, then a step type of structure is formed. It will be known as step fault. Overthrusting is a result of exception, that is due to the horizontal compressive force like this. Is it okay? That's all for today. If you have any query, just let me ask, and further we will discuss in our next chapter. Thank you so much.